Hey guys, welcome back for another video. So today's video is going to be very interesting because today we will talk about this video about the top 5 famous serial killers. These serial killers do not know how many murders they have committed or how many rapes they have committed. And there are some cases as well about which no one knows. And we will talk about who these serial killers are. Their background was known, and why did they commit the murders? And who are the victims who are murdered? Their names are mentioned. Where did they live? And what work did they do? And the most important question is why everyone was targeted. And among the top 5 famous serial killers, there is one serial killer who killed his own parents. This video has not been made to promote any crime. This video has been made just for information. So I request you all to watch the video till the end, and don't forget to comment. Whatever doubt you have, the comment section is always open for you, and I'm also always available. Let's start the video without any delay. In the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in an off-campus residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. On December 30th, suspect Brian Christopher Kohberger was arrested in Monroe County, Pennsylvania on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony murder. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. A jury trial is currently scheduled to begin on August 11, 2025 in Boise, Idaho. During the autumn semester of 2022, 5 female students at the University of Idaho lived in a rented off-campus residence in the rural college town of Moscow, Idaho. The 3-story house had 6 bedrooms, 2 on each floor. There had been no murders in the town since 2015. In the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in an off-campus residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. On December 30th, suspect Brian Christopher Kohberger was arrested in Monroe County, Pennsylvania on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony murder. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. A jury trial is currently scheduled to begin in Boise, Idaho on August 11, 2025. 2022 University of Idaho Massacre. Background. During the autumn semester of 2022, 5 female students at the University of Idaho lived in a rented off-campus residence in the rural college town of Moscow, Idaho. The 3-story house had 6 bedrooms, 2 on each floor. There had been no murders in the town since 2015. Timeline. On the morning of November 13, 2022, 4 college students at the University of Idaho were stabbed to death in a shared rental home near campus. 2 of the female victims, Madison Mogen and Zaina Kernodle, lived in the home. They worked at the same local restaurant. The third, Kaylee Goncalves, had recently moved out of the home, but returned to show Madison her new car. The 4th victim, Ethan Chapin, was Kernodle's boyfriend, who was sleeping over the night of the attacks. 2 other female roommates also lived in the home they were not attacked. Earlier on the evening of November 12th, 2 of the 4 victims, Chapin and Kernodle, were reportedly at an off-campus party at the nearby Sigma Chi fraternity from 8 p.m. until returning home at 1:45 a.m. That evening, the other 2 victims, Mogen and Goncalves, went to a downtown sports bar, the Corner Club, at 10 p.m., from which they left at 1:30 a.m. A live-streamed video on Twitch by the Grub Truck, a food truck 4 blocks south in Friendship Square, Main and 4th Streets, shows Mogen and Goncalves at 1:41 a.m. chatting and smiling, receiving their food 10 minutes later. Police later recanted their statement, saying the ride was provided by a private party, who arrived home at 1:56 a.m. According to the surviving roommates, all 4 students were home by 2 a.m. 7 unanswered phone calls were made from Goncalves' phone to her former longtime boyfriend, a classmate, from 2:26 to 2:52 a.m., and 3 unanswered calls were made from Mogen's phone to the same person from 2:44 to 2:52 a.m. These calls were investigated, with police concluding that they did not believe the recipient of those missed calls was involved in the crime. A DoorDash order labeled for Kernodle was delivered to the home around 4 a.m. Both surviving roommates had returned home by 1 a.m. Original reports stated that both surviving roommates were in their beds on the ground floor at the time of the murder, were not attacked or held hostage, and neither of them woke up during the murder. However, the probable cause affidavit for the case states that a surviving roommate said she was sleeping on the second floor, the same floor where Kernodle and Chapin were sleeping, before she was awakened by the sound of Goncalves and his dog. She said she later heard a roommate say something like, "There is someone here." The roommate said she believed it was Goncalves, though investigators also believe it may have been Kernodle speaking. The surviving roommate said she opened her door twice in a short time span, and that the second time she heard a crying-like sound coming from Kernodle's room, and heard a male voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Security cameras near the home recorded the sound of crying, a loud voice, and a dog barking several times beginning at approximately 4:17 p.m. The surviving roommate opened her door a third time and saw a man dressed in black and covering his mouth and nose coming toward her. The man, whom the roommate said she did not recognize, walked past her and used the sliding glass door to exit. The roommate said she stood in a frozen shock stage and then locked herself in her room. The 4 victims were stabbed to death on the second and third floors of the residence, where they were in beds. The victims were not gagged or restrained, and walls at the scene were covered in blood. Mogan and Goncalves were found in Mogan's bedroom, and Kernodle and Chapin were found in Kernodle's room. Before 911 was called,
What is the address of the emergency? 1122.
the surviving roommates reportedly called friends to the home because they thought one of the victims living on the second floor was unconscious and was not waking up. Someone at the home called 911 at 11:58 a.m., 7 hours after the murder, on a surviving roommate's phone to request assistance for an unconscious person. The identity of the 911 caller was not released, but police confirmed that the caller was not considered a suspect. When police arrived, the door to the home was open. There were no signs of forced entry or damage inside the home, and nothing appeared to be missing. The 2 surviving roommates were on the property when police arrived, as well as other friends of the victims. All 4 victims were pronounced dead that afternoon. Detectives said they believed the murders occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Upon searching the residence, officers found Goncalves' dog, which she shared with her ex-boyfriend, alive and unharmed on the 3rd floor. The victims were 4 University of Idaho students: Ethan Chapin, 20, of Conway, Washington; Kaylee Goncalves, 21, of Rathdrum, Idaho; Zana Kernodle, 20, of Avondale, Arizona. She later moved to Post Falls, Idaho; and Madison Mogan, 21, of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Chapin was a freshman, Kernodle was a junior, and Goncalves and Mogan were both seniors. Investigation. The stabbings were investigated by the Moscow Police Department, MPD, and supported by the Idaho State Police, ISP, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. In total, about 130 members of law enforcement from the 3 agencies worked on the case. Autopsies on all 4 victims were performed in Spokane, Washington. The Latah County coroner stated that all victims had been stabbed multiple times, with fatal wounds to the chest and upper body, with a large knife. Very similar, if not the same knife. At least one victim, who had obvious defensive knife wounds to his hands, and possibly more had tried to stop their attacker, and the victims may have been attacked while asleep in their beds. None showed signs of sexual assault. All 4 deaths were ruled homicides by stabbing. The victims were not bound or gagged. No weapon has been recovered, although police believe the killer or killers used a fixed-blade knife. A surviving roommate who reportedly saw the suspect described him as a strange male, approximately 5 feet 10 inches, 1.78 meters tall, and not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. On November 19th, Moscow police requested people to provide any home video they may have recorded the night of the murder. A phone tip line and email were created through the FBI for people to provide information to authorities. By December 5th, 2,600 email tips, 2,700 phone calls, and 1,000 digital media submissions had reportedly been submitted to these tip lines. On December 24th, investigators reported having received at least 15,000 tips about the case. Police initially left open the possibility of more than one perpetrator. Police said they believed it was a targeted attack, but have not yet concluded whether the target was the residence or its residents. At a press conference on November 23rd, the Moscow police chief said that officers had received several tips, including one indicating that Goncalves had a stalker, but by the time of the press conference, they were unable to verify that claim or identify any such person. Although the claim attracted much press attention at the time, the case against the final suspect has yet to be determined. No weapon has been recovered, although police believe the killer or killers used a fixed-blade knife. A surviving roommate who reportedly saw the suspect described him as a strange male, approximately 5 feet 10 inches, 1.78 meters, tall, and not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. On November 19th, Moscow police requested people to provide any home video they may have recorded the night of the murder. A phone tip line and email were created through the FBI for people to provide information to authorities. By December 5th, 2,600 email tips, 2,700 phone calls, and 1,000 digital media submissions had reportedly been submitted to these tip lines. On December 24th, investigators reported having received at least 15,000 tips about the case. Police initially left open the possibility of more than one perpetrator. Police said they believed it was a targeted attack, but have not yet concluded whether the target was the residence or its residents. At a press conference on November 23rd, the Moscow police chief said that officers had received several tips, including one indicating that Goncalves had a stalker. But by the time of the press conference, they were unable to verify that claim or identify any such person. Although the claim attracted much press attention at the time, the case against the final suspect has yet to be determined. Brian Christopher Kohberger was born on November 21, 1994, in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. After graduating from Pleasant Valley High School in 2013, he enrolled at Monroe Career and Technical Institute in Bartonsville, but dropped out after a year. Kohberger later enrolled at Northampton Community College's campus in Tannerville, where he earned an associate's degree in psychology in 2018. After graduating from Northampton, he worked as a security guard in the Pleasant Valley School District, the same school district where his father had previously worked for several years as a maintenance worker and his mother briefly as a substitute teacher. In the summer of 2022, Kohberger moved to Washington State to pursue a PhD at Washington State University, Pullman. Its campus is 8 miles west of Moscow. At the time of the murders, he was a doctoral student in criminology and had completed his first semester 9 days before his arrest. Kohberger was a teaching assistant at WSU, and less than 2 weeks before the murders, faculty members had met with him to discuss growing concerns about his behavior and conduct. Kohberger was dismissed from his teaching assistant role on December 19th, with the decision based on his behavior and overall performance. Trial. On September 9, 2024, the judge granted the defense's motion for a change of venue. The trial is scheduled to take place in Boise, Idaho, with Judge Stephen Hippler presiding over the case. On October 9, 2024, Judge Hippler set the start date for jury selection as July 30, 2025, with the jury trial to begin on August 11, 2025. On February 24, 2023, University of Idaho. President C. Scott Green announced that the house where the murders occurred had been donated to the university. It was demolished 10 months later, on December 28th. A memorial garden to the victims on the University of Idaho campus opened in 2024 as the Vandal Healing Garden. Scholarships have been created in the names of 3 of the victims, Kernodle, Chapin, and Mogan. The university will award posthumous degrees to the 4 victims at its spring convocation on May 13, 2023. I hope you will like this video. If you liked my video even 1%, then please subscribe to my channel and select the bell icon.
What if the deadliest killer in your town was a teenage boy's never suspect? You all must have seen all my videos, whether I discuss about the case of serial killer men or about serial killer women. But today, I am going to discuss about 2 girls. Actually, both of them had killed their teachers and classmates in their school life. This case looks simple, but it is not that simple. This case is the most disturbing case of my journey. Let's not take much of your time. Let's start the video and start our discussions. Eric David Harris, April 9th, 1981, April 20th, 1999, and Dylan Bennett Klebold, September 11th, 1981, April 20th, 1999, were American high school seniors and mass murderers who perpetrated the Columbine High School massacre at Columbine High School on April 20th, 1999, in Columbine, Colorado. Harris and Klebold killed 13 students and one teacher and wounded 23 others. After killing most of their victims in the school's library, they died by suicide. At the time, it was the deadliest high school shooting in U.S. history. The ensuing media frenzy and moral panic led to Columbine becoming a byword for school shootings and becoming one of the most infamous mass shootings ever perpetrated in the United States. Eric Harris. Eric David Harris was born on April 9th, 1981, in Wichita, Kansas. Harris's parents were both born and raised in Colorado. His mother, Catherine Ann Poole, was a homemaker. His father, Wayne Harris, was working in the United States Air Force as a transport pilot. In 1983, the family moved to Dayton, Ohio, when Harris was 2 years old. 6 years later, the family relocated to Oscoda, Michigan. Michigan pastor William Stone lived across the street from the Harris family while they were located in Oscoda. Stone recalled them as great neighbors and often saw Wayne very engaged with his sons. 12. The Harris family then moved to Plattsburgh, New York, in 1991. During his time at Stafford Middle School, Harris played Little League Baseball, regularly went to birthday parties, and was part of the crowd. Kyle Ross, a former classmate of Harris, said he was just a typical kid. 13. The Harris family finally settled back in Littleton, Colorado the next year when Wayne retired from the military. 14. On a 1997 English class assignment, Harris wrote about how difficult the move was from New York to Colorado. It was the hardest moving from Plattsburgh. "I have the most memories from there," Harris continued. "When I left, his friends, I felt alone, lost, and even agitated that I had spent so much time with them and now I have to go because of something I can't stop." 15. Harris, in a basement tape, blamed his father for moving the family around, forcing Harris to start out at the bottom of the ladder. 16. Harris had a chest deformity known as pectus excavatum, in which the breastbone sinks into the chest. This made Harris reluctant to take his shirt off in gym class as other students ridiculed him. Harris had 2 cosmetic surgeries at age 12 and 13 to repair the deformity. The sunken chest was still mildly observable during his autopsy. The Harris family lived in rented accommodations for the first 3 years that they lived in the Littleton area. While Harris was in 7th grade, he met Klebold. In 1996, the Harris family purchased and settled at a house south of Columbine High School. Harris's older brother Kevin attended college at the University of Colorado. 1920 Harris's father took a job with Flight Safety Services Corporation, and Harris's mother became a caterer. 22 Harris entered Columbine High School in 1995 as a freshman. Columbine had just gone through a major renovation and expansion. 23 From all accounts, he had many friends and was left forward and midfield on the Columbine soccer team for his freshman and sophomore year. Josh Swanson, one of his teammates, said that Harris was a solid soccer player who enjoyed the sport a lot. 24-25 During his freshman year, Harris met Tiffany Teifer. They had German class together. 26 Teifer later recounted that Harris quickly wooed her. Harris asked her to homecoming and she accepted. After the event, it appeared that Teifer was no longer interested in seeing Harris anymore, for reasons never disclosed. When Teifer refused to socialize with Harris again, Harris staged a fake suicide, sprawling on the ground with fake blood splashed all over him. When Teifer saw him on the ground, she began to scream for help, at which point Harris and his friends began laughing, prompting Teifer to storm off, shouting at Harris to get psychological help. Dylan Klebold. Dylan Bennett Klebold was born on September 11, 1981 in Lakewood, Colorado, to Thomas and Sue Klebold. On the day after the shooting, Klebold's mother remembered that, shortly after Klebold's birth, She described what felt like a shadow cast over her, warning her that this child would bring her great sorrow. I think I still make of it what I did at that time. The deputy announced his presence as one of the boys prepared to move the stolen goods into the trunk of the car. Harris shortly after admitted to theft after the deputy asked about where the equipment came from. They were later charged with mischief, breaking and entering, trespassing, and theft. They both left good impressions on juvenile officers, who offered to expunge their criminal records if they agreed to attend a diversionary program, which included community service and psychiatric treatment. Harris was required to attend anger management classes where, again, he made a favorable impression. The boys' probation officer discharged them from the program a few months ahead of schedule for good behavior. Regarding Harris, it was remarked that he was a very bright individual who was likely to succeed in life. While Klebold was said to be intelligent, but needs to understand that hard work is part of fulfilling a dream. Several months later, on April 30th, Harris handed over the first version of a letter of apology he wrote to the owner of the van, which he completed the next month. In the letter, Harris expressed regret about his actions. However, in one of his journal entries dated April 12th, he wrote, "Isn't America supposed to be the land of the free? How come, if I'm free, I can't deprive some fucking dumb shit from his possessions? If he leaves them sitting in the front seat of his fucking van in plain sight in the middle of fucking nowhere on a fry fucking day night? Natural selection. Fucker should be shot." Now let us take a look at what the president said about these two boys.
In this video, I will not just tell you about the allegations. I will talk about his early life, his journey from a small area of Harlem to the billion-dollar empire, and about those questions that were suppressed everywhere. But here, we are going to find answers to them. Let's start the video without any delay. And today we will talk about this case, Diddy sex trafficking trial. Today, New York, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is facing at least 15 years in prison if convicted of all charges at his federal sex trafficking trial. Combs has pleaded not guilty to 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Prosecutors allege Combs used his power and prestige as a music star to induce female victims into drugged-up, elaborately produced sexual performances with male sex workers in events dubbed freak-offs. They say he coerced and abused women with help from a network of associates and employees, while silencing victims through blackmail and violence, including kidnapping, arson, and physical beatings. Exhibits from Diddy's sex trafficking trial. At the center of the prosecution's case is Combs' former girlfriend and protege, Cassandra Cassie Ventura, whom prosecutors allege Combs physically and sexually abused for years, using her career and their relationship as tools to coerce her into submission. Cassie sued Combs in 2023, and the lawsuit was settled within hours. But it touched off a law enforcement investigation and was followed by dozens of lawsuits making similar claims. Now let's talk about his early life. Early life, from struggle to hustle. Sean Combs was born on November 4th, 1969, in Harlem, Manhattan, New York City, New York, USA. He was just 2 years old when his father, Melvin Combs, was shot, allegedly during a drug deal. After that, he was raised by his mother, Janice Combs, a hardworking single mother. Diddy herself said, "I came from the struggle. That pain made me hustle harder. Rise to fame, from intern to how to build an empire." In the 1990s, Diddy started working as an intern at Uptown Records. Her talent shone very soon. She discovered stars like Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige. After that, she started her own label, Bad Boy Records. Diddy not just created music, she created a culture. Grammy Awards, fashion brands, Ciroc Vodka, Revolt TV, she started touching everything. But as fast as her rise was, her downfall was also going to be just as fast. Now let us tell you how Cassie met that person and someone else. How did the love story start? Was it really a love story or a trap? In 2007, Diddy meets a young singer named Cassie Ventura. Cassie was very beautiful to look at. Slowly, they both started talking. They started dating each other. A high-profile relationship started between them. They looked glamorous. Events, photo shoots, tours. But in 2023, Cassie filed a lawsuit in which she told, and after hearing all that, you all are going to be shocked. Diddy gave me drugs, beat me, and pushed me into sex trafficking. Cassie says she was under his control, emotionally, financially, and physically. The allegations, a pattern of abuse. After Cassie, many other women came forward with similar allegations, like drugging, physical abuse, forced sex acts, coercion, threats to life. All this didn't seem to be just a personal matter. It seemed to be organized exploitation. FBI investigation, the empire cracks. In March 2024, the FBI raided Diddy's Miami and LA homes. 2 private jets were seized. Reports came in that the case is being investigated under the RICO Act, which applies to mafia-level organized crime. Diddy called every allegation a lie, but her public image took a turn. Brand deals canceled, partnerships broken, concerts dropped. The fall, public opinion, and legal pressure. Diddy made an out-of-court settlement with Cassie. But people say settlement does not mean innocence. There was a divided opinion on social media. Some people say he is being targeted because he is rich. Some say all this is just on the surface. There is something else inside. Questions that still haunt us. Was Diddy just a flawed icon or a cold manipulator? Was Cassie telling the truth? Are there other victims who never come forward? And the biggest question, do money and power force a person to truly forget his humanity? I am here, you are watching at Marayu 28. If you feel that the truth behind power is not always flashy, then like this video and write in the comments, justice should be equal. Would you like to tell us what to make next? A perspective video on Diddy's victims or another celebrity crime case with the same storytelling style? Frederick Jackson, born July 11, 2004, is an American serial killer who allegedly fatally shot 4 people in Little Rock, Arkansas, from June 2020 to April 2022, when he was a teenager, for which he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. He will become eligible for parole on May 15, 2057. Police records show Little Rock police were called about Jackson 7 different times between 2015 and 2018, and detailed times where Jackson allegedly threatened to punch an assistant school principal at age 11 to fights at age 14 that left a student with a swollen eye, and had been cited numerous instances on charges ranging from disorderly conduct, third-degree battery, and theft by receiving. In a few cases, his parents were called, and other times he was suspended from school. Jackson's uncle, Bradley Blackshire, was fatally shot by a Little Rock police officer in 2019, and his pregnant mother was shot and killed in 2020. The name of the victim is Nicholas Jones, June 2nd, 2020, Dyshawn Allen, June 15th, 2020, Dante Stanley, February 20th, 2021, Dolan Goff, April 7th, 2022, the teenage girl behind the Wisconsin school shooting, a case with few precedents. The Madison police are focusing their investigation on uncovering what motivated 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow to kill a teacher and a student at her school, as well as exploring the potential responsibility of her parents. Natalie Rupnow, a 15-year-old who preferred to be called Samantha, opened fire Monday in a common area at Abundant Life High School in the Madison, Wisconsin area, where students from several grades were enrolled. She killed a teacher and a student and wounded 6 others with the 9mm pistol she had brought into the private religious school where she studied. The school, unlike many others in a nation grappling with an epidemic of gun violence, did not have metal detectors. Initial reports described the shooter as a teenager. Only at the end of the day did the authorities confirm that they were dealing with a case with few precedents, in which the alleged killer was female. Nearly 48 hours after the tragic events, much remains unknown. The police are still looking for what could have motivated the girl to shoot herself before being arrested. At the moment, they are talking about a combination of factors. It is also unclear how she obtained the weapon. Rupnow appears to have left a manifesto, if you want to call it that, or some type of letter. Police Chief Sean F. Barnes told CNN on Tuesday. Rupnow's friend allegedly posted the letter online, but its authenticity has not been verified, nor have the contents of the letter or the identity of the person who shared it been disclosed. The names of the victims also remain unknown. Among the injured are a teacher and 5 students, 2 of whom have already been released from the hospital. 2 others are in critical condition and fighting for their lives. Barnes added that they were combing Rupnow's social media accounts and trying to determine if she was being bullied in class. He also confirmed that there is no evidence she targeted specific individuals. Everyone, students and teachers, was targeted, he said. Everyone was put in equal danger. Experts say it is unusual that a teenage girl was the shooter. Only 9 women, compared with 249 men, have been involved in school shootings this year, according to the K-12 database, which tracks school shootings in the United States. The database is named after the educational category that includes schools serving students from kindergarten through 12th grade, a group that includes Abundant Life, the Christian school attended by Rupnow, which has 390 students. The other big question is how Rupnow was able to get hold of the gun. This raises another critical issue. Could her parents be held negligently liable for Monday's tragedy? That's a question that we'll have to answer with our district attorney's office, Barnes said, but at this time, that does not appear to be the case.
If you have any doubts, please tell me your question and whatever doubts you have in the comments section. I will try my best from my side to reply to you. And please do subscribe to my channel to watch these suspense-filled interviews and true crime documentary videos. Thanks for watching.